Welcome to Google Developers Live presents Women Techmakers, today from Campus London. My name is Mandy Waite. I'm a developer advocate for the Google Cloud Platform.
And I'm Vidra, and I'm the head of Campus London. We have Sue here today, Dr. Black.
Hello. Hi.
Yes, so a quick introduction of Sue. Dr. Sue Black is an award-winning computer scientist, an inspiring and passionate leader. We should have rehearsed it. Who excels at bringing people together to solve complex issues. She's a senior research associate at the Department of Computer Science at the University College London, UK. She has been instrumental in championing awareness of and support for Bletchley Park and has recently become a trustee. Keen to champion women in computing, Sue set up the BCS Women Online Network in 2001 and has recently become a strategic advisor for ACM-W. Sue also sits on the UK Foreign Secretaries Group on freedom of expression. Passionate about computer science and its benefits to individuals, organisations and the economy, Sue has recently set up the non-profit organisation called the GoTo Foundation to promote computing to the public. Sue is a frequent public speaker, media savvy and social media holic.
Yeah.
Aren't we all? So welcome, Sue.
Thank you.
It's
Thanks very much.
Great to have you here today.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start off with some straightforward questions about your background and your history in computing.
Yeah.
So we're really interested to find out what kind of inspired you to go into computer science, into computing in general. So I understand from reading various articles and such, like you have a PhD in software engineering.
Yeah.
You also started on the CS path at Southwark College, but you did computer science at South Bank University.
That's right.
So when did you first decide to actually pursue an education in tech, and what motivated you to study computer science specifically?
Well, I suppose to start with, I guess someone was asking me a while ago when did I first know I was a geek, so maybe that's a kind of a place to start. And thinking back, the first time that I could think of was when I was about 7 or 8. I used to save up all my pocket money and buy maths textbooks with my pocket money at the weekends. So I guess that was one of the first signs that I was interested in this area. Maths was always my best subject at school, and there wasn't really computing at school because I'm really old. There wasn't really computing at school when I was there, so I couldn't take it at school. When I was thinking about going to university, I thought of maths again, so I studied maths at Southwark College, and as part of that course we did a bit of computing as well, and I really liked the programming. I found it really interesting, and in a much broader sense, I suppose, I really have always felt that technology and computing is kind of the subject of the future. It's really exciting, and it kind of enables you to do so many things in so many different areas. So it doesn't really kind of pin you down. It kind of broadens out your opportunities, I suppose. So when I was choosing a degree, I could have chosen maths, or I was choosing between maths and computing. And I thought firstly that computing is the future, which I still believe. Mm-hmm. And also I thought it would help. I'd be more likely to get a job if I did computing than if I did maths, which probably isn't true, because I think it's probably just as easy to get a job with a maths degree. But I mean, that's kind of how I got into it. Okay. And then once I was studying computing at university, I really liked the research aspect in my final year, and that's kind of what led me into doing a PhD. Okay. And software engineering, I think, is a kind of the practical side of computer science, and I'm a very kind of practical person, so I think that's how I ended up doing software engineering.
Excellent. So was there ever any chance that you would do philosophy or art or anything like that? Was that?
Well, I did actually think about it. Actually, before I did the maths course at Southwark College, I did kind of think around that whole area, and actually I did a return to study course a long time before that, and we studied various different subjects on that, including like philosophy, economics, English literature, and I really did like the politics and economics stuff that we did, so I could have gone that way, but technology is the future, so I didn't.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a self-described social media junkie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, aren't we all nowadays? It seems to be a big part of life.
My name's Sue and I'm a social media holic.
This is rehab.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad I finally found it.
So I've asked this question of a few people today. How has social media changed your life? Has it improved your life, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. It really has changed my life. I mean, in terms of finding people that you can connect with quite easily, Twitter's like my was kind of my intro, I suppose, into the whole social media thing. From being on Twitter for not very long at all, I ended up finding people, or they found me, who were interested in the same kind of things, and that's kind of how the Bletchley Park and social media campaigning aspect came about. And now, with Facebook and Google Plus, and there's so many social media conduits or kind of channels, or that it's wonderful in that you can really find people that you get on well with. I quite often give the example of, so as a computer science academic, I go to conferences, and so kind of around the world, I know people in my area that I want to go down the pub with and have a chat with. So that's kind of a subset of all the people that I meet in the sort of computer science academic, software engineering role. What social media enables you to do is to find those kind of people, so the people that I would get along with, but they're not in the same kind of career path as me. It might be in marketing or any kind of career, basically, because somehow through social media interaction you can, I suppose mainly because of search, you can find people, and people can find you that have shared interests. And for me, sense of humour is really important, and so finding people with the same sense of humour, you can do that through social media, so that's wonderful. And I mean, personally, I've probably got 50 to 100 friends that that I get on really well with, who I never would have met if it weren't for social media. So that's kind of the plus side. And also, of course, campaigning and kind of social change. Social media's empowered loads of people in that way. So it's helped with Bletchley Park, but it's also helped with other campaigns and the whole Arab Spring, just being that way of connecting, which just wasn't there before.
Can you give us an example where social media changed, how you help, how you accomplish things in your work, or like ran a campaign using social media that was successful?
So you mean like as Bletchley Park as an example?
Yeah, for example, yeah.
So, we've done various things over the years using social media. In one example is, because we kind of, what you can do is you can find people that are interested in the same things as you. So obviously, Bletchley Park specifically, you can search for Bletchley Park and see who's talking about it using social media. But also then, if you've got something about Bletchley Park on your profile, other people searching for Bletchley Park can find you. And so if you start conversations with these people, over time, that builds up into a community of people that are not just interacting with you, but interacting with each other, which I think is wonderful. And so one example of where that made a kind of concrete difference was that with Kelsey Griffin at Bletchley Park, I and Professor Jonathan Bowen at South Bank University, we wrote a paper about Bletchley Park, which we submitted to the Museums and the Web conference in Denver a couple of years ago. And so we wrote the paper and submitted it, and the paper was accepted. And then I realised that we didn't have the funding to go to the conference, and I thought, I've put Bletchley Park in this situation now where I'm trying to get people to raise funds for Bletchley Park, but they're now going to have to pay for this to happen. So I was kind of in a bit of a quandary about what to do about that. And some great friends on Twitter this time, Paul Clark and Darren 140. Gosh, I know people's Twitter IDs, but I can't remember their real names. The people I know really well. Sorry, Darren. Encouraged me to set up a Just Giving account to help fund our trip, so me and Kelsey, to go over to the States to present this paper. And so I kind of ummed and ahed about it for a while, and then I thought, I'll give it a go. So I set up a Just Giving page, and within 2 weeks we raised enough money. It's over £2,000 just from friends, community, people that love Bletchley Park, through Twitter for us to go to the conference.
That's
so
super.
That's just one thing, but very specific thing that it really did help with.
Yeah,
That's
very
fantastic.
effective.
Okay, so on the subject of Bletchley Park,
Yeah.
it's a good lead into my next question. Bletchley Park was the home of the British code breakers during the Second World War, and thanks to their efforts and the work that they did, it's been said frequently that it reduced the length of the war by about 2 years,
Yeah.
saving millions of lives.
Yeah, 11 million people a year were dying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's an amazing effort that deserves a lot of recognition. Bletchley Park is a big part of that. So it has huge historical significance, and thanks to all of the campaigning that you've done with other people as well, and your continued support, it's being preserved for our national heritage. You're a Bletchley Park trustee now, and you've talked a lot on many occasions about how the campaign initiated and what it's done so far. But what's next for Bletchley Park? What do we need to do to continue with the momentum that we have so far?
Well, I mean, the future is very exciting for Bletchley. We got, I think, 4.6 million from Heritage Lottery last year, which we've got match funding for as well. So there's about 6 million or 7 million now being spent on renovating the site, and the idea is to kind of take it back sympathetically to like a 1940s feel, which I think will be really wonderful, because you know, if you've been there, if you just imagine going in and it actually does seem like it's 1940, to me that, I just can't wait till it's like that. So that money's for specific renovations, but you know, there's a 26-acre site there. There are lots of other buildings, huts, blocks which need attention, and basically Bletchley Park is doing well, but they need more money. Give us your money. So you know, please, I really want everyone to go up there and see it, because I think once you go up there, you get a feel for what happened there, for how important it is, for what, you know, what the site is like. It's an amazing place, and so go and visit and get your friends to visit, and also anybody in technology companies. It would be great to have more sponsorship and funding from technology companies. So if anyone can help with that, that would be great. So it's a very bright future, but we need more money.
So the year is 2018. You
Yes.
acquired the money. What's
Yes.
the vision? What would you like to accomplish if everything is renovated?
Well, it's going to be an international museum, basically, which with 26 acres, it's a massive site. So, you know, it'll be a state-of-the-art museum, but also it'll be like walking into the 1940s. So it'll be interesting to actually see how that kind of all comes together. And I think there'll be like a conference, state-of-the-art conference centre there. There'll be educational facilities, because the thing is that the great thing about Bletchley Park is that it brings together kind of the humanities and the sciences. You know, we've got Colossus, the world's first programmable digital computer. They're used as part of the code-breaking effort. We've also got the amazing history from the Second World War, and the fact that it shortened the war and saved so many lives. We've also got the whole thing about the women that work there, because most people think that, well, my idea when I first went there was it was probably 50 middle-aged blokes in tweed jackets sitting around smoking pipes doing the Times crossword. That's kind of my image of what was at Bletchley Park, but in fact it was more than 10,000 people, and more than half of them were women. And I was there last week or the week before. The Duchess of Cornwall came up to see and talk to 60 of the women that worked there, and they were, I think, from 16 upwards, but mainly kind of late teens, early 20s. They went there from school and university to work there. So more than 5,000 girls, basically, you know, like young women working there, who did all this amazing stuff, and we don't really know hardly anything about their contribution. So there'll be something
telling their story.
Yeah, telling their story as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. So one of my favourite features of Bletchley Park, which I had the fortune to see in November, a VIP tour of Bletchley Park, was amazing. I actually saw the Alan Turing papers. Alan Turing's the father of modern computing. Both of you and me agree on that. Some people say it's Van Neumann, but I'll argue. He's a real hero to me. But until yourself and Simon Meacham actually drew it to my attention, I had no idea about Alan Turing's papers, the fact that they were going to go off to a different country, and then you did all of this work to raise the funding to actually keep the papers in Bletchley Park. So as a consequence, they're there now in this wonderful Alan Turing exhibit at Bletchley, which I recommend everybody sees if they go there.
Well, that was actually a massive combined effort, because it was a guy called Gareth Harfacree who set up a Just Giving, asking for people to give money to help Bletchley buy the papers. And then I luckily met Megan Smith at a conference, a Google VP who was speaking, and she said she'd help, and then Simon Meacham got in contact with me,
Yeah.
and Google gave $100,000 towards it, which was wonderful, but then that actually didn't make the price that was needed, and so Bletchley Park, Simon Greenish at Bletchley Park found other funders basically to come in, and so again it's kind of like there's lots of things around Bletchley Park, but most of it is all kind of, it's a team effort of lots and lots of people doing bits and pieces, and that's one of the things I really love about it, is that because people feel so strongly about Bletchley, is that they, you know, lots of people, very different people work together to make the good things happen.
So I wanted to continue on the theme of Alan
Yeah.
Turing, just briefly. What do Alan Turing's papers represent to you? Why are they so important to everybody in this country?
Well, because they're kind of like some of the fundamental papers in computing and the first ideas of computing. He's been called the father of computer science, and I think for very good reasons, with the Turing machine and the Turing test. So it's interesting for me was finding out, because a lot of this stuff I didn't know, and I wasn't taught on my computing degree, and I can't believe I don't think I was taught anything at all about Alan Turing, and so probably lots of other people weren't. So, but it's been great over the last few years how, you know, lots of people now know his name, and with the centenary last year, some fabulous work done by Barry Cooper, who ran that. It's just great that it's all kind of out there now.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a great audio boo that I did with Julian Wilson, who works at Christie's, who handled the papers, who in 5 minutes tells you exactly why Turing's papers are so important.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So that's on my audio boo stream.
Check it out.
Yes.
It's been said of you that you're an inspiration to ladies either working in or thinking of working in computing. Words that for me get exactly to the heart of Women Techmakers, what Women Techmakers is all about. To provide inspirational role models for people of all ages who are considering education or careers in technology. So my question to you as a role model, does it take something special to be a role model? Can anyone be a role model?
Yeah, I don't think it takes anything special. I don't think I'm anything special. I'm just someone who's passionate and works hard, is how I see it, really. And I'm very happy if people can see me as a role model, because I think we do need more women role models in tech, definitely. There are some amazing people like Steve Shirley. I don't know if you know Dame Stephanie Shirley, as she is now. She's just written a fantastic autobiography, which I'm part way through, so I recommend everyone please read that. And Wendy Hall is a great role model, sort of in the academic sphere. There are so many great women around, but we do need, and it seems women particularly need role models to kind of help them think that they can do it too. So if I can go any way towards doing that, then I'm very happy.
On the topic of role models, who are your role models, or have they changed throughout the years when you started off in computer science and now? Well,
I think at the beginning I probably didn't really know any, really. You know, I mean, don't think I really knew. I don't think I knew about Ada Lovelace. I don't think I knew about Steve Shirley. I can't really think of any women in tech that I knew at that time. So now Steve Shirley's definitely a great role model for me. I mean, what she's done is amazing, going from being a refugee in the Second World War through to setting up her own company, working only, I think, at least to start with women programming at home and women with kids, you know, like programming at home, and building that into a massive software empire. I think she sold it for, I can't remember how many million, some time ago. So it really gets me kind of that we still haven't got to that level now where that's a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think she kind of ran the company solely with women working at home to start with. So yeah, she's a great role model. Yeah, Wendy Hall is a great role model too. She's sort of been banging the drum for a long time, since before I was involved, and she's been very supportive to me, so she's great. There are so many now, but we still need more, right?
Yeah. So stay tuned for a future Women Techmakers episode where we'll be having Wendy Hall in this chair.
Yay! She's great fun.
So talking about women in computing, women in technology, what Women Techmakers is all about. So this is kind of an opinionated question, but statistics suggest, and I've read a lot of statistics, statistics of statistics as well, that the pipeline from education to the workplace is more of a funnel that narrows very rapidly when it comes to women progressing towards a career in technology. It also seems to be as much about choice as it is about ability, more so even, that women are actually choosing actively not to pursue roles in technology. So specifically when it comes to computing, why do you feel that women decide not to pursue careers in technology?
Well, it's hard to speak for women as a whole, but I guess my ideas around that would be that they probably just don't know. They don't know what it is to start with, how cool it is, and how kind of empowering technology can be. Because you don't need to know that much, I think, really, to be able to kind of take advantage of technology. I think we've kind of got this image of like typical programmers as like the typical person in tech. And I think we need to move away from that and kind of change that stereotype. And so I think women just don't realise that they can do it, and they don't know what it would do for them if they could. So I mean, with the GoTo Foundation, the charity that I set up, our next big project is called Tech Mums, which is all about getting mums a bit more tech savvy. And I've kind of found throughout my career that when I talk to people outside of the kind of tech, my sort of peer group in tech, when I talk about being in computing, quite a lot of people just kind of roll their eyes at me or go politely, like, oh God, you're so boring, or think I'm a boffin, and it's just something they could never do, or talk about kind of IT failures that we've had over the years. But that it's just such a cool area to work in, and there's so many different types of opportunities. Isn't it? Everyone doesn't have to be a programmer. I think it's good to understand how software works, and to understand basic things like algorithm. What an algorithm is, how software works. That it's basically just a list of instructions and stuff that makes stuff happen on a computer. And a bit of kind of web design skills. I think most people can do that kind of stuff. And actually, we ran a workshop day with kids called Goto Tech last year, where we had 98-year-olds doing basic programming in Scratch and playing around with Raspberry Pis, and doing a bit of app design with Apps for Good. And in a day, 90 kids learnt to do some of this stuff. So if 8-year-old kids can do it, women can do it, mums can do it. We need to get that message out there, and that's what Tech Mums is all about.
If you look at the newspaper as well, like most of the jobs that are the most popular jobs today in social media or in basic tech, entry-level tech, didn't exist 10 years ago.
No.
So what would you recommend, maybe it's part of your work with GoTo as well, to someone entering the world of tech, especially women entering tech or considering to enter tech? Like, what's the first step that they need to take in order to be more tech savvy?
Well, I suppose I would say do our Tech Mums course because it's all about kind of hand-holding people over the kind of the sort of mental barrier from thinking they don't understand it and they can't do it, to feeling that they're kind of empowered and they know which way to go. And so the idea is that we're going to run a series of workshops in a school, Bishop Challoner School in Tower Hamlets, and the aim is that we kind of collect together everything that we've done and put it into a virtual box so that any organisation can then run that workshop themselves.
That's great.
And our aim is to start small but build it up quickly so that we can get it across the country.
Super.
So anyone can help with that, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be really interesting. I had a conversation recently, I think it was in conjunction with Women in Tech. It may have even been on one of the interviews, I've not actually checked, but I mentioned that I felt that it was very important that we start teaching the basics of computing at a very early age, almost at the same time as writing. It's a fundamental skill, interacting with the surroundings, the technology in your surroundings is a fundamental skill that you're going to need as you grow up.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned on the blog that we're only really teaching computer science at GCSE level. Should we be doing more to teach young people, very young people, children in elementary school, primary school?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't see, like we read books to kids and we teach them basic maths from when they're talking and like understanding things. So why not put some things towards kind of technology skills in that. I mean, so I had a conversation on Twitter a while ago with someone who was saying, no, we shouldn't teach it before a certain age. And they, in our conversation, they kind of thought that I was saying we should teach C++ to 4-year-olds, which of course I don't think is a good idea. But the thing is, like understanding algorithms, like I was saying before, so understanding step-by-step instructions. Well, if we can teach our kids about cooking, or, why can't we teach them about algorithms, and then that can lead into a conversation about software and computing, because I think, teaching kids how to, I don't know, make a cake. You get your ingredients together and you do certain things with them and you end up with some result at the end. Well, that's kind of around the mindset of what you would do if you were writing some code, if you're writing a program. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. So why is there something wrong with it? I think it's just people not really thinking about what it actually means.
It's interesting. In Estonia, for example, they started teaching kids from the age of 8.
Okay.
And it's part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
But I guess one of the questions that we get from startups around technical talent is how do you think is the curriculum fit for then getting a job in tech? Like, do you think that there's, apart from starting them at a younger age, do you think that there needs to be changes to the curriculum to equip them for the actual jobs they're going to do? Or do you think
absolutely. I mean, we're teaching math skills at 5 and reading, literacy and that kind of stuff. So why can't technology be in there as well? And I think it should be. And again, you can teach, you don't have to be teaching coding, but you can be teaching things, like we had logo back in the, whenever, some people are still doing logo, that kind of stuff. And even, like the youngest kids, you can talk to them about step-by-step things that they do. It doesn't have to be about coding, but I think about getting the kind of key concepts in there, kind of like hardwired from when they're young, will help so much later on.
Yeah, I agree. I think technology is going to change in such a way that it won't be about programming anymore. The way you interact with things will be much different than writing code, but it'll be very similar, but everybody will be doing it. Just like the people are doing on their phones currently.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we kind of all are starting to do that kind of stuff. We just don't realise that's what it is, absolutely, I think. Yeah. So that's another message to get over, really. Yeah.
So I have a crazy question to ask you. Probably going to be the last question, guys. How are we doing for time?
A few minutes.
We've got a few minutes left, so that's excellent. So I'm going to ask you this question, and you said you think you'll be able to answer it. So this is going to be really cool.
I've forgotten what it was. Yeah.
I read on your Posterous blog that you love learning about the history of computing, and so thanks to you and thanks to Lynette Webb, I've been introduced into that rich history as well, and it's amazing. I absolutely share that passion. I just wish I had more time to pursue it. But in say, like in 100 years, what will historians be saying and writing about this particular era in the history of computing?
Yeah, I'd forgotten you said you were going to ask that. I think it will all be about when we really connected to each other. So kind of the social media thing, but kind of on a really big scale, because we can now find so much information. We can now connect to so many people. I mean, I think search is just amazing. And not just because we can look up what we want to buy at the shops or something, or something on Wikipedia, but because we can, once everyone across the world gets online, which is happening gradually, we'll be able to find anything and anyone anywhere, and then connect up in ways that we can't even imagine yet. But there's just so much information out there, and the ability to search it, that I think that's going to be the kind of connecting everybody and everything up together is going to be the big thing that's kind of happened at this time.
Okay, that's excellent. I totally agree. Do you want to, before we wrap up, do you want to actually say anything about what you're actually working on currently?
Well, Tech Mums, I've been plugging that away quite hard. That's our latest project. So we'll be running Tech Mums workshops and putting Tech Mums in a virtual box. Right. So if anyone wants to help us with that, or across the country wants to get involved in terms of running some sort of workshops or hosting a workshop or even participating, then please get in touch.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sue. It's been wonderful to have you along today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Evie, for stepping in.
Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Yes, you too.
Thank you, everybody from Campus London. My name is Mandy Waite, Easy Vidra, and Sue Waite.
Thank you.
Thank you.